Welcome, everybody. It's Monday. Happy Monday. It's the Knockem Dead Comedy Show right here on Gov's Comedy Club Podcast. Thanks for joining us. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel and share the link all over the place. Tell everybody you know about all the great shows here at Gov's Comedy Club Podcast. And we got Mitch Malloy joining us. This is how I landed the interview with Mitch Malloy. So Mitch Malloy, if you guys don't know, of course you guys know the band Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen, and now his son Wolfgang has got his band and they're kicking ass. Well, back in the 90s, well, of course, you know, in the 80s had Van Halen with David Lee Roth, and then they parted ways. Sammy Hagar joined the band, and in the 90s they parted ways with Sammy Hagar. So this guy Mitch Malloy, who's a singer-songwriter, he got the gig, but he was only in the band for really just a few months. In fact, it was never even announced that he was in the band when him and Van Halen then parted ways. So it was never even announced that he was in the band. And it was only maybe 10 years ago or so that he actually came out and said, I was in Van Halen. And then, you know, some video and audio came out of him with the band so he can prove that he wasn't making the story up. Right. And then he even put out a song that he made with them.
They recorded a song?
They recorded a song.
Oh, I didn't know that. And
he actually put it out, which I'm going to ask him about because I don't know if if Van Halen is on the song or if he just wrote it with them and then recorded it himself. I'm not even sure. But anyway, so now for me, this is, I guess, kind of my geek part. I'm a big music guy. You guys all know that. And I'm heavily into, like, I like deep cuts. Like, you know, I'm, like, you know, if you like the hits of this guy, you should hear these songs. Like, I'm a big deep cuts, album cuts guy. But I'm also a liner notes guy. I like to know who played on what, who wrote things, who's producing it. But I also like, video. I like to watch, you know, when people put out home videos of concerts, you know, like, you know, they put out DVDs or streaming of a concert. I like to watch concerts. I like to watch music videos. Again, I like to see who's playing and who's doing what. So a little geek, I mean, I'm just all geek, but one of the things that make me a geek is a hobby that I'm bad at, but I enjoy doing. I like to make my own music videos, like not my own, but take an established artist, I'll collect footage of them, and then I'll take a song that I like of theirs that they might not have a music video for, and I'll edit my own music video. It's just for shits and giggles.
You did that to one of my videos.
In fact, that's right, I did. Just a Thought is the name of that song. Right. That's right, and it's on YouTube.
Yeah, it is.
And
despite my best efforts,
I really like that song. See, and that was it right there. So I really like that song. I want to make a visual for it. And I'm not good at it, but I just enjoy doing it. And I've taken, you know, famous songs or non-famous songs. And in fact, sometimes when an established artist, a well-known artist, puts out a new album, I'll grab the song like the day it comes out, and I'll make a video. So then, like, there are some videos I've made where, you know, 200,000 people. I've gotten like 200,000 views and stuff.
Really?
Oh yeah, I have a few of those actually. So I just enjoy doing it. So I made a video for this song that Mitch Malloy made with Van Halen. So the other day, I think it was just Friday. Yeah, it was Friday afternoon. Mitch Malloy apparently talks to his audience on Facebook, on social media. He'll respond to things and talk to them. So, and this guy, I mean, he must be sick of it. All people want to talk to him about is Van Halen. You know, the guy was in the band for, you know, this amount of time, but that's all they want to talk to him about. So in the comments, so he responded, and then people are talking to him, and he's talking, and so going all around, people are joining in, and somebody shares a link to my video, the video I made, and sure enough, he writes, "Yeah, I've seen that. It's, you know, it's a crappy video." So a friend of mine sees this, tags me in the conversation. So I go back to the beginning. I'm reading all the comments. Sure enough, I see his comment. "Yeah, it's a crappy video. If you really want to see a good video, see my live version of that song." Yeah. And I'm like, holy shit. So at first I'm like, do I go after the guy? Do I, you know? So then I figured, all right, I'm going to go for the sympathy card. Because I'm good at that with the leg. Mm-hmm. I'm good for going for the sympathy. Right. So I comment, "Mr. Malloy, I'm so sorry you didn't like my video. I didn't do it to insult you. I did it because I loved the song, and I loved you, your voice, and I love your music. And I just thought maybe more people would appreciate your time with Van Halen if I post this. And I just went on and on.
Right.
If you want me to take it down, I will. I'm really, really sorry. I just went on and I really just poured it out there. Sure enough, he responds, "Oh, dude, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to come down on you like that. I just, I didn't mean it. It's cool. No, I appreciate your efforts. All the best." So I just responded. So I got a podcast. You want to come on? and he said yes. So I'm like, oh, cool. So now we're talking privately. I was like, let me know what your schedule is. We'll schedule something. We'd love to have you on. He says, and again, this is Friday, 3 days ago. He goes, I'm around next week. Now I'm like, oh, shit. I go, and now I'm like thinking of my schedule. Like, my schedule's a little crazy this week. I'm like, all right. I go, what day? He goes, so Monday or Tuesday is good. I'm like, holy shit. So I go, all right, Monday.
I'll just step on Bobby's time.
I actually thought you'd be into it because I know you like a little bit hair metal. You're a music guy. So I thought you'd actually like it.
You were wrong.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I really didn't care. So I just, so I'm like, shit. So this was Friday. I had stuff going on all weekend. I had to fit this in to do my research on the guy and, come up with, questions and stuff. I'm like, oh, my weekend was just nutty trying to fit everything in. I had to fit. Hello, Mitch Malloy. Thanks for joining us, my friend. So this is Bobby over here.
Hi.
I'm Tony. I'm the guy that you've been dealing with. And right off the bat, I'm a little worried. Are we gonna I don't know if you're gonna kick my ass for that video or what? I appreciate you being a good sport about it. I am the first to admit it's not well done at all, but it was really just I'm just a nerd who enjoys a visual to a song and I just honestly I'm a little familiar with your music and your career. And I just felt you deserved more recognition for your short time with VH. So that's why I did that video. But I'm glad you have a live version video that's out there. So so go watch that instead. It's much better. All right. Now I don't want to. I'm sure you're probably so tired of just talking about Van Halen. So we have other stuff that I would love to get to. Of course, you have the new album out. Yes. Please talk about the new album. So you have the last song is the new album. There it is.
Oh, that's cool.
Vinyl. Look at that. Now this album is what's the title about? Is this your last album?
It's the latest album.
All right, that does make it the last one. Okay.
Yeah.
And now you're when we were setting this up, you said something about how that you've been in the studio working all sorts of crazy hours. And this album just came out last month, correct?
Yes.
So are you already working on another album?
Maybe.
That's you're a beast, man. How do you I mean I would still be exhausted from just putting this album out and then all the promotion and whatnot. And then you're spending all night long, doing whatever you're doing in the studio.
That is a rumor that I'm crazy.
I bet. Crazy and also timeless. I mean, you go back to 1992 to watch your Anything at All video. You look like now that you just made that video yesterday. How in the world you have a big workout regimen and stuff. You take good care of yourself, right?
Yeah, it's mostly nutrition stuff, though. Yes.
Well, yeah. That's taking good care of yourself. So it's amazing. Really, you don't look any different. I mean, the hair and none of it. You look exactly the same. I'm absolutely amazed by that.
A little better, actually, but who's bragging? Thank you.
Well, I know there's according
to say to that.
What's that?
I don't know what to say to that.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me, how do you take care of yourself? So are you vegetarian? Like what do you do?
I've been eating, or first of all, organically, probably for 20 years ish,
Okay.
maybe a little longer than that. Yeah, I was when I was 25, I think it was. I was diagnosed with colitis.
Okay.
And the doctor was very grim about it. And then I talked to a friend of mine, and his mom died from that. And I was like, holy shit, what am I
Wow.
going to do? I'm only 25. So my sister is a acupuncturist and like a naturopath, a healer. Like, she's one of those crazy California people. And I, she was like, you have to do this, you got to change your diet, blah, blah, blah. So then I started, like, I became like, it's funny because I joke that I'm like the godfather of like healthy eating, because I would start to go to health food stores, like in the only health food stores then, like now there's health food store like sections in like major, supermarkets.
Right. Yeah.
But then, no, you had to go to some back alley piece of crap, tiny little grocery store with food that tasted like cardboard to get like stuff that wasn't like major big box processed food, right? So I was hip to that then. So I stopped eating corporate food, I call it, as much as I possibly could. And I went on this path of natural foods. And then I had a blood test done that told me it was an allergic blood test that told me I was allergic to wheat and sugar and all these things that everybody consumes every day.
Wow.
So I stopped, and I don't talk about this very much because people don't really ask and people don't really give a shit. Everybody wants to look like that at 61, but when you start talking about it, people just kind of glaze over. So I don't talk about it much, but that's been my path, and I stuck by it, and I got rid of the colitis, and pretty much gotten rid of everything else that's popped up on my own. And yeah, I'm a pretty healthy guy. I've had some serious bouts with a few things. Actually, one of the reasons I left Nashville was I was in serious health. I had a serious health issue that was caused, I'm convinced, by Nashville. But the allergies in Nashville are horrendous.
Really?
Bless all you people that live in Nashville. If they're not allergic, they're really lucky. But yeah, people move to Nashville. My manager was like, well, when you move here, you're going to think like you have the flu. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, when you move here, everybody gets sick when they first move here. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. Can't wait. And it's because of the allergies, because it's like in a bowl.
Yeah.
And the air there is very dense and it's very pungent. And there's tons and tons of trees. And it's, yeah. So it's, I guess the Indians used to call it the Valley of the Ills. So sorry, I'm like dumping on Nashville. I love Nashville and people in it, but I had to get out of there because I was really sick. I had eosinophilic esophagitis is what I had developed, which is what Eddie Money died of.
Right, yeah. Eddie Money, who, the town we're in right now, Levittown, New York, this is the town he grew up in.
Oh, wow, no kidding.
Yep, and Hicksville is right next door, which is where Billy Joel grew up.
Oh, cool.
But
yeah.
That happened to a friend of mine, but in Florida, a guy that grew up with me here. He moved to Florida, was sick for weeks. He eventually, I guess, adjusted, and I guess his body got used to it. But in your case, that didn't happen, huh?
It didn't happen, and I ended up in surgery, and I had a hard time. Wow. And that was about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And so I thought I always felt better when I came to Florida, and because the salt there, there's iodine in the salt there, and it's really good for you. People don't know that, but
right.
People go to the beach, they don't understand why they feel better. It's mostly well, first of all, you're at the beach, so it's awesome, but it's iodine in the air makes you feel better somehow. I think it's almost universal that. So it definitely affected me, and my wife loved it here. So and my kid. So we were just like, let's just move to Florida. So we did, and I've been better ever since.
Well, that's the thing I've noticed with you, because you had New York. Here in New York was a home base for you for a while, then Nashville.
Yeah.
And I noticed, like, you built your studio in New York. That you had one in Nashville. Now, there's definitely it does seem like you're the trendsetter, and people are just kind of going where you're going.
Well, I was, if you think about it, I had my first home studio in, I'm going to say 1980.
Wow, 1980.
Or maybe even before that. I figured out that I've been doing this for 47 years. So when is that? 47 years I've had my own studio. So people are like, how do you make your own record by yourself? And I'm like, well, you just spent 47 years in the studio. It's simple.
Well, what made you
do it?
What made you decide to do that in the first place? Because 1980. I mean, who had home studios? Paul McCartney was probably like the only one. What made you do that? Yeah,
because I wanted. I've always been, so I grew up in a small town, and I've always been like a problem solver kind of guy. Like, so it's like, okay, so what do we need to do? Like my little band, when I was 14 or whatever, like what we need to do to be like a band. Well, we need that, and that, and so let's do that. And I guess I'll do that. And whoever, needed to do whatever, we just did it, so I learned all these different traits because I didn't grow up in New York or LA or wherever, where there's all these different people who are specialized in all these things, right? So I just took it upon myself to learn like how to hook up the PA and how, it's like, to be heard singing, then I got to be heard. And how do I, you know what I mean? It's like, basic stuff, right? Like this needs to go over there. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to take it over there because nobody else is here.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like that simple, really. So then that led to, that's kind of how I approached my whole life, So when it came time to okay, well, I got to record myself. I got nobody to record me. What am I going to do? I guess I'm going to learn how to record myself. So what do I need? That? Can I afford that? No. Well, I better save up, So it's like, because gear was really expensive back then.
Yeah.
Not that it's cheap now, but it's way cheaper than it used to be. And for what it is, and now it's like world class. I'm sitting in a world class studio right now, and it's tiny, like it's a micro version of my Nashville studio. It's about a fourth as big, and I'm getting better results. I think the last song record sounds better than the Making Noise record, which I made in my Nashville studio.
Right.
So yeah, it's like things are getting smaller and better, which is great. But that's just kind of been my process. Okay, that needs to be done. There's nobody here to do it. I guess I'll figure it out. I'm just one of those guys. Like a lot of those guys end up, fixing cars and stuff. But and if I didn't have musical talent, maybe that's what I would have done. Maybe I'd be a mechanic. But because I'm sort of that kind of guy. Like I had musical talent, so that's where I went. And I had to, fix things. I had to, there was a problem. I had to solve it. So here I am making records now by myself because of that. It's like, okay, well, I need to learn how to play bass. I need to learn how to play keyboards. I need to learn how to play guitar, percussion. I need to learn how to mix the record. I need to, and I just did it.
Yeah, that's the new one and the previous album, right? It's all you, right?
Yeah, this one.
That's amazing.
I just happen to have that handy.
It's funny how that works out.
That one, it looks like that.
Nice.
It's almost as good as this.
They're both great. Do you feel that gave you an edge, like kind of like getting out there, getting discovered, so to speak, by having your own studio, being able to make better sounding records, especially in the '80s? All bands were using cassette recorders.
Yeah, I think perhaps because I recorded the demos that got me my record deal. In my bedroom in New Jersey, where I was living at the time.
Right.
I was able to do that. I had periods where I was lucky to be invited to a studio by somebody, and then I would watch them and learn from them. So
Yeah.
it was like, it wasn't always by myself in my studio, but mostly it's been that. Except that my debut album, the Mitch Malloy album, that
Right.
was made in world-class studios in Los Angeles. Arthur Payson engineering and producing, and that was a fantastic experience, which taught me again a lot. And then it was really depressing to go back to my home studio.
Yeah, and you had some big players on that album too, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I had like the creme de la creme, like LA, like the best guys in LA, and then Mickey Curry, who's not LA, but Ryan Adams, drummer, one of my favorite drummers, still one of my favorite drummers, and one of my favorite.
Hall and Oates too, right?
Yeah, Hall and Oates, and
I think he was on Hall and Oates. Yeah.
He was, and also the Cult.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is funny.
Oh, wow.
Like, so he played the exact same drum set up in the exact same spot in the exact same studio as the Cult album that he had just recorded. And then he comes back it was weeks later, and he walks in and he goes, "Yep, okay, it's exactly like it was for the Cult." And I was like, "Oh, wow. Okay, cool, yeah."
That's wild.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And right, you can identify. You have your own studio.
At home, yeah.
And it's
not
No,
probably
I
not
like
the
that.
same stuff. I do most of it on a Mac, and I do a lot of sampling. So I'm a vocalist, but I don't play the instruments. So I'll do a lot of sampling and use loops and things. And Logic has an incredible drummer track, so I use a lot of that. And then I do the vocals over that.
Right. Yeah, so there's all kinds of ways to be creative now, and getting more and more so. The thing, I'm glad you brought that up though, because it's like people will say to me, I mean, first of all, I'll qualify it with, it really only matters that I make records by myself if you like them. Otherwise, it's like, it doesn't matter at all. If somebody says, "Well, I can't stand his music and I can't stand the way it sounds," so it's like, okay, well, maybe I should have not done it by myself. But anyway, people will say, "Well, yeah, now with technology and computers, you can do that." And I'm like, "Well, no, the technology and the computers don't play the guitar.
They don't do anything. You got to do it. It's
You
just
gotta
a
do
tool.
everything.
The human feel. Yeah, absolutely.
They didn't write the song. They didn't play the drums. They didn't play the bass, the guitars, the percussion. I did that.
Yeah, totally.
And speaking of which, since we're talking about all that, and I know you're a Beatle guy, so what's your opinion on what's coming up with with the Beatles using AI and whatnot? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't like it. I don't. I heard some AI Queen and stuff like that, and it was like, it was cool, but it's not the same. It's it's computers, so it's it's amazing that can happen, that technology is there, but it also scares the crap out of me, and I don't particularly think that it's I don't know. Imagine like somebody who's worked as hard as I have my whole life to be able to do what I do, and then here comes a computer that says it can do it too.
Oh, absolutely right. I agree 100%.
And then so I hear that, and I'm like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
Like it's just
I heard rumors that they may take recordings of the Beatles before they were famous. Doing some live concerts, in clubs and whatnot. They may use the AI to clean that up, not re-record it, just to clean it up. And that's cool. Yeah,
I love that. I mean, I'm all about that. If I've been doing stuff like that. It's funny because I have this record as well that I am re-releasing because I've remastered it. And there's some new technology that I was able to use in the mastering because I don't have the multi-tracks, so I can't remix it.
Sure.
What I really wanted to do. And maybe someday I'll find the files and I'll be able to remix it, and then I'll put it out again. But putting out a new version of this. It's remastered. It's called Shine, Mitch Malloy Shine. And it I was never happy with the way it sounded, and now I'm much happier with the way it sounds. And I was able to use some new technology. It wasn't AI technology. I'm still using my ears, but it's compression and EQ and stuff like that, where I'm able to get more out of it than I did. So I love technology as long as you're using it to support the human. But when it's taking away what the human did and doing it instead of the human, I like that so much. In music, I mean, in medicine or whatever, that'd be fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, if it can start healing people, then I'm down.
Yep.
When it starts taking the music away from the humans, you know, it's like music has gotten so bad already. It's like, really, we need to make it worse?
Yep.
Like, is it possible that it's worse?
Do you think there's music out there today? Like, you take music from the 70s, you know, the Eagles and I mean, I could just Led Zeppelin, and I could just go on forever with the bands. But they, which by the way, I saw a great version of Stairway that you're singing. I'm assuming it's on YouTube. But I don't know if it's because of our age group. I mean, you're 61, we're in our 50s.
Right.
I don't know. Like, are these songs from the 70s? Like, you still hear them today. I don't know if it's our age, but do you think there's music from today that when our kids are in their 50s and 60s, they're going to go back to a certain era and think? It just seems to me like songs from 2 years ago are already gone.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's funny. I don't even know the name of the band, but I went to see the Black Crowes this year. They were playing locally.
Nice.
And they're headlining a festival. And the band that was on right before them, I'd never heard of, and I cannot remember their name. And it was like the Wiggles.
Maybe it was.
I apologize to them. I don't know who you are, and you are sure are really good at what you do, but I can't stand what you do.
Yeah. Right. I don't know if it's an age thing, or I don't know if we're getting to the get off my lawn age. I don't know.
Yeah, but I was in like this VIP area, right? And there's like people dancing around, and like, you know, those people look like they were probably in their 40s.
Wow.
They knew that band and liked it. And I just looking at them like, really? What is this shit?
These guys all get me the Crows.
Yeah, and then the Black Crowes came out and like cleared out my ears, and they were great.
Oh yeah, I've seen them. They're a great band. Oh yeah.
And it was funny because Chris is like they finally, like, you know, I think they played a few songs before he spoke, and so he spoke, and he goes, "Yeah, I know we're the only real rock and roll band on this festival." I was like, he said it.
We were talking just before, just a little over a week ago. I saw Extreme and Living Color, and it was just so refreshing to see, you know, these two bands that have been around for 30 plus years, but still just kicking ass, man. It was.
Corey from Living Color, he's always been amazing.
What a voice!
Not to bring them up, but I always thought he would have been great Van Halen.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
He's got that thing, and that just, I don't know, man. I know Ed and what Ed likes, and I would have thought Ed would have loved his voice.
Yeah.
Anyway, just a thought.
That's a good thought. So speaking of which, when Van Halen 3 came out, you were like, oh, thank God I didn't stick around for that.
Thank God I wasn't the one that destroyed Van Halen.
Thank you. And now you're the only one.
Say that out loud.
But now you're the one carrying the torch with the Van Halen experience.
No, man, that was like one. I know it looks like that. But it's not really like that. Like, we just did one show. It was an Ed celebration show. It was for charity. I owed Ed money, so I felt like that was a good way to pay it back. And actually, Ed, I'm not even kidding. Ed financed this record.
No kidding.
Yeah, people don't know that because I don't tell people everything.
We didn't hear a thing.
I just sort of did. But yeah. So anyway, I don't really have any plans to carry on the Van Halen experience thing. It was just a one show celebration, and there's like 500 Van Halen tribute bands out there. Okay, maybe 66.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. There's like, it's the most tributed band out of all the tribute bands.
Right.
So there's a zillion of them out there doing that thing with their wigs and their striped clothes, and
Ashless chaps.
and people like it, right? I mean, people go to the bar and they have fun, and it's like, yeah, and you know what I mean? So I don't need to do that. I never wanted to do that. I just wanted to celebrate Ed and put an amazing band together and just do that music. And it was a blast, and we had a blast. And whether it ever happens again, I seriously doubt it.
Well, it's.
Well, I'm offered it every day.
I'm sure you are, but I can understand why after, being, that you were in fact a member of the band at one point, but then after seeing those videos from the show, because I don't know if I'm assuming you had something to do with there's professional video of that on YouTube. It sounds fantastic. I mean, it's really amazing.
And I produced it.
Pete, oh, okay, and it's Pete on guitar, Pete
Thorne, yeah.
Pete Thorne, thank you. I mean, he does a tremendous job, and so it's giving us a taste of what it would have been, back in, 96, 97, but also just currently, because, again, there's nobody's out there doing those songs. So
that was really what we wanted to do. We just, the four of us love that era of Van Halen, the Dave era, and also the Sam era, but really we grew up on the Dave era, so that's what we wanted to do. And for me, it was like kind of insanity. For me, it was one of the biggest challenges as a vocalist you could ever imagine, because I'm a first tenor. So I live up on the stratosphere of a man's voice, like high as
right.
I have the highest male vocal you could have, basically. So Dave is a baritone. Right. So Dave is two full scales below me.
Right.
So, if you notice, like, Sam doesn't really sound, he sounds like Sam singing when he sang those Dave songs, which he didn't much, but I think when they first started, he sang some Dave stuff, and it sounded like Sammy singing, it didn't sound like Dave, because he's also a first tenor. So, yeah. So for me, it was a huge challenge. How do I sing these songs and not just completely butcher them, by sounding too good? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I have like a singer's voice, right? I was just born with that. And Dave has an actor's voice.
Yeah, absolutely right.
He's a genius at what he did on those albums. Flipping genius. Like, I think it's as good. People kind of recoil when I say this, but I think it's as good as Ed's guitar playing was. I think it's as innovative and good, and it's the perfect balance to what Eddie was doing.
Oh wow!
Because it's so unique. He's not going.
Yeah.
He's not doing like Deep Purple. He's not doing. You know what I mean? He's not
Robert
like
Plant.
He's not like that 70s rock thing that I kind of am. He was doing his own vaudeville. Like, what the hell? So, when I first heard, I don't know about you guys, but when I first heard that voice, I was like, what the?
I'll be honest, I never thought about it until now, because you're so blown away by Eddie that I...
Exactly.
He's absolutely right, though.
Oh, yeah.
Dave does not have what you would call like a singer's voice. Like, no singer tries to sound like that, Yeah.
No. And the ones that do sound a little silly.
And it's really funny, because I know what you're talking about, because we used to do songs in my band, and the guitar player was like, dude, you're singing too good. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, that's not how they sing. No one's going to like the song with you singing like you.
Right.
And so there were just songs that we just like, nope, we're not doing that one. We're not doing that one.
Yeah.
And it makes me so happy, by the way, because I am not a tenor. So it makes me so happy to hear that tenors have the problem of how do I get that low?
yeah.
Because I always have the problem of I can't hit those notes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's like, yeah, fuck you too.
Yeah, it's the opposite. Like we can't do certain things, and me doing Dave is one of those things. So for me to take on that task was like, are you freaking nuts?
Yeah, right.
Like you're gonna get lambasted.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna hate you. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. So I knew that going in, so when people are like, don't you think you should sound a little bit like Dave? They're like, oh, gee, maybe I thought of that. maybe I could also hear that.
You mean he sounds different than me?
Yeah. Oh, you mean I don't sound exactly like Dave? Shit.
I'm going home.
Yeah, I was convinced I was a sound alike. Like what, and that's another thing. Like Ed wanted me, not Dave. Like he already had Dave.
Right.
People are like, "Oh, don't you think?" No, actually, Eddie, actually heard my voice before he called me.
You're not just the guy who showed up.
Yeah, he might have called me because he liked my voice. Maybe, do you think? People are so stupid.
How did
he's not really in Florida, I'm telling you.
Yeah, right. He's just saying that so he can say these things. So let me ask, how did you get involved with how did you get Mike Rutherford on your album?
Oh, cool.
That's what your was it your second album, I think?
Yeah. And I don't know, where's that? I don't have that. I can't hold that one up.
I'll put a picture of that in edit.
Yeah, nobody ever asks about it. So yeah, that was just a really cool thing. Christopher Neal produced that record.
He worked with.
Yeah.
Yes, he's worked with Mike and the Mechanics.
He was the Mike and the Mechanics guy. So he wrote "All I Need Is a Miracle."
Right.
He wrote all those great songs. I mean,
you don't sound like Mike, dude.
Okay, well, I better go practice. Yeah, so he had an amazing track record, and we were looking for a producer, and the label wanted me to make a very specific, more adult kind of a record, a little more smooth, a little bit more, polished kind of a record. Fit my voice and the market, because the market was changing. The melodic rock was kind of gone.
Yeah,
it was time for Nirvana.
Right.
So they thought, okay, well, you're amazing at that kind of singing, and so let's focus on that and let's take it. And I'm like, sure, okay. So let's find a really producer who's amazing at that kind of thing. And Christopher Neal was jumped up and said, yeah, I'll do it. So I went to England and we made that record. And and it was funny because he had mentioned that, he was friends with Paul Carrick and that he's friends with Mike Rutherford and this one and that one. And I said, it'd be great if Mike could play on the record. And he goes, yeah, you know what, maybe. And he goes, he's got a polo match coming up. Maybe we should go visit him. I was like, awesome. So we jumped in his Christopher's sports car and took off, countryside of England, and went to, I don't remember the town, but we went to where the polo match was. And so I got to watch my first ever polo match.
Yeah.
Rutherford was in the polo match. And then after the polo match, he came over and shook my hand, said hello. And Chris asked him, will you play on his record? And he was like, yeah, that'd be great. And then the same with Paul Carrick. I wanted to do that song, Ready to Go Home, which wasn't a song that I wrote, but Chris was kind of sitting on that song, wondering who to produce it on. And he didn't write it either, but I was like, well, what about Elton John?
Why not?
Yeah. He said no.
Hey, I'm sorry, but
you still got to ask.
Of course.
I can't imagine how or why you would say me, but He did.
Well, I'm sorry, but Elton John, of course, a legend. But
Yeah.
I don't know. But me personally, I would be more thrilled to have Paul Carrick than Elton John. And you guys sounded great together on that song.
Yeah. But you know what's funny? Paul Carrick is, I guess, Elton John's favorite singer.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah, which was like ironic. You know, it's like, well, we can't get Elton, but let's get his favorite singer. So it's like, he'll be really pissed.
Right. and you and Carrick, similar. Carrick manages, he kind of manages himself and does his own thing, puts out his own albums. And
yeah, he's a lovely guy. He couldn't have been nicer and more pro. And he just came in. He was super sweet, and he, boom, he did the vocal, and he was gone, and there it was. Yeah.
I've had the pleasure actually of working with Rutherford myself for just one project, and very nice man. And I was starstruck the whole freaking time. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and he's so cool. Like, he's not like a rock star kind of guy.
Right. Yes.
He's like a businessman or something. Like, he's like a.
Did you try dropping that? Because that was, I think Phil Collins left Genesis shortly after that. Where you're like, hey Mike, that's a band I could.
Yeah. I kept saying to Chris, like, Chris, I'm available.
Right.
Anything called Genesis.
And I play everything, so I can play drums too.
Right. Yeah. Right.
That's great. All right, so I don't know. You're talking about your health before. Does that affect going out to do concerts, or or do you have anything planned to support the album?
Yeah, there's a few things coming up that I can't talk about yet.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, we're planning on doing a few shows, and that's going to be cool. It's been a while. For me, I don't really miss life on the road. I don't. I live in an amazing place, and I like being home, and I love my studio, and I love creating here, and I miss the fans, but I don't miss the travel.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, most people are like that. I mean, your traveling is difficult, so especially now, and expensive. So
sure.
Yeah, but
do you? So, and then I guess then to, and I'm not going to ask for numbers or get too personal, but the to make a living, selling the album straight from your website as opposed to iTunes. That, of course, to sell them straight from your website is preferred, right?
Yeah. If you want a signed CD,
oh, nice.
If you order it from MitchMalloy.com, they're all signed. Otherwise they're not. There's still a couple of bundles. If you're a vinyl person, there are still a couple of bundles available. The bundle includes 2 digital downloads of me doing acoustic versions of 2 of the songs.
Oh,
here.
Cool.
So studio acoustic versions, videos. They're audio video. It includes a golden ticket drawing, which is we're going to pick like 10 people or something like that. And I'm going to do a live concert for them, like a Zoom concert, and they can ask questions in between songs. And so it's like an interactive concert. And they also get a signed CD, and they get a guitar pick.
Cool. Very nice.
And they get a poster, a big signed poster, and an signed 8x10, and they get handwritten lyrics for the album, and a cup for 2 or 3 of the songs. So the bundle is it's like $89, but they get all this stuff.
And the poster is you naked, from what I understand.
Nobody wants to see a 61-year-old naked.
All right. Well, if by chance you come to New York, while you're out there promoting, we would love to see you in here and have some more fun, and maybe even bribe you to play a tune on. We have a guitar sitting right here.
Right
so,
yeah,
Mitch, we really appreciate your time. We appreciate your patience as we were having all our issues. And between the video and the issues, thank you for not kicking my ass. And it really was a pleasure talking to you, and all the best with the new album, and we hope to get a lot more.
Thank you. I'll kick your ass when I see you, man. It's all good.
Excellent. Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Mitch.
We'll see you.
Yep.
So that was really cool. Very
Yeah.
nice of Mitch Malloy and his time there.
No, he was really cool. I like him. I wish that I knew him, you know?
Personally?
No, I mean, like, I wish, well, sure. But I mean, I wish, I don't have time for most of the people that I know. I wish that I, like, knew his music already, you know? But that would have been cool if I had more heads up time.
He did, yeah, we were talking before about his time in Van Halen. He actually, yeah, and I think I mentioned it. He did put out one song that he did record with them, and then he had just verified that it is them on the recording. So yeah, that's available.
Yeah, right. That was a question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he said it was them.
Yeah, and yeah, you can get MitchMalloy.com. Like he said, you can order any of his albums, and it'll come autographed on CD. I don't know if you
And
can
vinyl.
and vinyl, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's a download available on his website.
Or if it's streaming or anything.
Yeah. Well, his music is on Apple Music.
It is.
I know that much. Yeah.
Because I want to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on YouTube and stuff too. He has I saw it on YouTube, and it is actually available for download on iTunes. He does this acoustic version of Open Arms, Journey.
Oh, really?
Just him on an acoustic guitar. It's very nice.
Wow, he really does have a high tenor voice, huh?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
Steve Perry.
Yeah, he can.
Should have been.
Yes. That's one of my favorite moments of this show.
I couldn't even say it.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go on YouTube and hit Knockem Dead Comedy Steve Perry. That's all I'm going to say about that. Then he put out a live DVD a while back, where again he does the Journey song "Stone in Love," and he just kicks the shit out of it. Yeah, he's great, and that was fun. That was fun talking to him. So.